Hello, everyone, and welcome to YCQ Answered. That's your children's questions answered. I'm your host, Yossi Zimlover, the Director of Communications of the Yeshiva of Central Queens, and I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. On this podcast, we'll be talking to different members of the YCQ family about the challenges and opportunities of raising Jewish children in the 21st century. I'm so excited to introduce this year's season finale. I had the privilege of hosting a very special question and answer session with our esteemed principal, Rabbi Landsman, and our esteemed Associate Principal of General Studies, Mrs. Melissa Cohen. Without further ado, here is the episode. I am so excited to be sitting here today with Rabbi Landsman and Mrs. Cohen, our esteemed Principal and Associate Principal.
You have no idea how excited we are to be here. You can't even imagine.
I will tell you, it has been very quiet since the kids have left and we're a little bored, so this is super exciting and we're really happy to be doing this. So thank you.
July is the time where we just hang out, read books,
we need some excitement, and this is it. We're ready to go.
Yeah, for those of you who don't realize, they are 100% joking. They are hard at work here at school, working nonstop, even when everyone else is at the beach or enjoying their summers. All the principals and the rest of the faculty are working hard as ever, making sure the school year for next year is the best year we will ever have.
Yeah, it's amazing when I go down to the lunchroom when no one's here and blast the music and no one's there to enjoy it.
Awesome.
Like, it really is fun.
That is great. So I guess speaking of the summer, we're here in the middle of July here. Why don't we have school all year round? Why are the kids off right now?
Yeah, I'm sure all the kids really are voting for them.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that the summer, it's not just a break from school. It's actually really important for mental health and well-being, and of course physical health. The school year, it's intense. It's very demanding. The kids, they're here from 8 in the morning till 3:30 or 4:30 in the afternoon. And of course we try to have a lot of fun programming, and of course they have recess and lunch, but for the majority of the day, they're in the classroom and they're being asked so much and they're working really hard. They go home, they have homework, they have tests to study for and assignments to do. And it's a lot. Listen, they step up to the plate. We're really proud of our kids, but by the end of the school year, I feel like summer comes at the perfect time. Like that last week of school, it's where you feel it, you see it. The kids, they're starting to burn out. They've had enough. It's a lot of stress and work, and at that point they need a break. They need to just recharge. They can't even think about doing another math equation or writing another paragraph. They need to rest, they need to relax, and they need to recharge and reflect, and do things that they love to do and have that happy feeling of just doing things that make them feel good. And I would actually say the same thing for the teachers. Not that they're burnt out, but by the end of the school year, listen, they come, they have full energy throughout the day. They give it their all. By the end of the school year, the teachers definitely, they've been through a very demanding year as well, and they need a break. They need time for themselves. They need time with their families. So it's really important. And of course, the physical aspects of just getting outside and running around, maybe riding bikes, swimming, just getting that physical activity that you don't get as much of during the school year.
I also think that, like Ms. Cohen said that so eloquently and beautifully, but I think that the nature of a child, they grow better when they have physical activity and they're more naturally inclined to running and playing and swimming and having a good time and collaborating with their friends. And education is very intense, and it forces them to, go against their nature and sit at a desk and concentrate on a math problem or Rashi or sitting in a davening situation. And it does go a little bit against the child's nature, and they have to do that in order to get their education. But there is a time that they need to grow and run and play and enjoy their childhood. So a childhood is really a balance between the academic culture and the academic atmosphere and the intensity of the classroom, and it balances with fun and play. And the summertime is a time of fun and play. And I will tell you that As a child, some of my best experiences were in camp, going to Camp Morashah as a child and making friendships and connecting with counselors and having spiritual and menstruational growth. Some kids can learn better in camp than in camp school, and we run the school. This is Cohen and Rabbi Landsman. We're in charge here, and we know that there are children that are going to benefit more from the connections that they make with a camp counselor or a camp experience.
I would also say it gives them an opportunity, to really reflect and set goals for themselves for the next school year. They're coming back with this new energy, and they're rejuvenated and they're ready to kind of start fresh. And I think the summer is a really good time for them to think back, how their year went. Report cards just went out. There are a lot of things to celebrate. Parents, look over the report cards with their children and see, where they did really well, and let's celebrate an amazing year. But also, what can we work on for next year? What maybe didn't go as great as we wanted it to? And it gives them the time to think about that and come back really ready for the next school year.
Those are all definitely great points. I think the summer is obviously a very important time for kids to recharge and have fun, but at the same time, how do we make sure that fun is, healthy and productive and structured? It's not just a free-for-all where they're totally letting loose and, sitting on the couch all day. How do we make sure that there's enough structure in their day, and how do we go about that?
It's so true, and for sure, too much downtime for anyone, adults and children alike, is definitely unhealthy, and we have to be really careful about that. So as much as we're talking about having a good time and just relaxing, there definitely needs to be a sense of structure to their summer, to their day. If kids are going to camp, obviously that structure is really built into the day. But kids who are not going to camp, I think it's really important to have, a set kind of wake up time in the morning. They shouldn't be sleeping till the middle of the day, or they should keep that routine where they're getting up at a certain time and even going to bed. Obviously, I think, in the summer, maybe bedtime could be a little bit later as a treat, but there still should be a normal bedtime, and it should be a healthy balance of fun, but also some structure. I think there are other things that can be done, certainly Rabbi Landsman, you could speak about just davening in the morning, I think is really important.
Listen, we train children that when you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, right? And that's not for school. It's for life. It's for, proper dental care. And so the same thing should be true about Netilat Yadayim when you wake up in the morning. And the same thing should be true about davening every morning. And, our dream for every child is that they gain so much spirituality from the school year that every morning at home they're taking out their siddur and they're saying their tefillot. They're thinking about our brethren in Eretz Yisrael who are going through such a difficult time, and they're having them in mind, and they're saying some tehillim, and also that they're reinforcing brachot before they eat, saying Birkat HaMazon, being polite and being careful about how they act, dressing in a proper way. There's all sorts of things you can reinforce from the school year that hopefully they gain from the school year, that parents have an opportunity to reinforce during the summertime and come back to school in September refreshed.
Sounds good. Very important for sure. On the topic, I guess, of dressing appropriately, we had multiple questions. Thank you, everyone, by the way, who submitted questions. Keep that up. We had a few questions about YCQ's dress code, and specifically, why don't we have a school uniform?
So a lot of parents have inquired, not just through email, but I had a couple of meetings with some parents, and we've been discussing it back and forth. And my feeling about uniform is as follows: there's a purpose to going to school, and it's to get your skills and get your education. But there's an even greater purpose to going to a yeshiva. You go into a yeshiva because you not only want to gain skills, which you can gain elsewhere, but you're going to yeshiva to get inspired. And inspiration is supposed to last. So there's research on both sides of the uniform issue. On the one hand, researchers show that the uniform does enhance discipline. It lowers bullying. It makes children a little bit more compliant with the rules. But on the other hand, it does make children feel a little bit less excited about going to school in the morning. They have a harder time expressing their individuality. their choices are limited, and therefore they feel a little bit less enthusiastic about going to school. And so my question back is the parent body and the administration should continue to have a discussion about where we want to go on this issue, because since our goal is to inspire children to live a life of tzniut, to live a life of brachot, to live a life of davening, of kindness, of compassion, since we want that for our children, not just to get an amazing education in Torah and General Studies, which is what we offer here in YCQ, but to live a life of inspiration, so which is the best way that the children get inspired? Will a uniform give them this feeling of tzniut that they'll have their entire life? Or will, regular discussions about proper dress and proper way of dressing and looking and acting, which will be the better, more inspired way? So I look forward to continuing that discussion, but that is the issue on both ends. I used to be principal of a school in New Jersey, and the parents very much wanted uniform, and they voted on it, and the Board of Trustees voted on it, and implemented the uniforms, and it caused our student body to feel less excited about going to school, to such an extent that on the last day of the school year, when the kids realized that they're going to the summer, when they don't have to be b'tzniut anymore, they took markers, they passed around Sharpies, and they signed each other's clothing, because they realized that these clothing are going to, to the Bir Chametz at the end of the year, and they weren't going to have to wear them anymore, because it just caused them to be unhappy about school. And if anyone wants to join us for the last few days of school in our school, our children are crying that school is ending.
Yeah.
They're not tinokot sheborchim mibeit sefer. They're not children that are running away from school. They're crying. They're going to miss the school. And I just wouldn't want to do anything to diminish that atmosphere, but I am open and willing and ready to continue the discussion.
Yeah, I am well said. I think it's something that we talk about a lot as a parent. My 3 kids graduated YCQ, and it was something that came up, and I see both sides. I really do. Interestingly enough, when we do persuasive writing units, and the teachers ask the students to pick a topic, this is one of the more popular ones. The kids, they like to talk about it, and I see mixed feelings. Some kids, they think that it would be a great idea, but there are plenty who are very against it. So
yeah, this topic, and the kids also want an indoor pool in the school.
Yes, that is true.
They want to persuade us to have an indoor pool. So if any parents are out there that want to endow an indoor pool, and you could have your family name on it, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, we'd be very open to that.
And a health spa.
Sounds great.
Definitely on board for those. I think, both of you made excellent points there about, the two sides of the argument there. And I think there's a similar tension with rules about technology in school. That balance between giving kids the freedom and flexibility and independence to make the right choice on their own, which is kind of not having a dress code. It's up to them to come to school in their own clothing that's new. But at the same time, we have this new, and I think it's amazing, and I've heard great feedback about it, but this new technology policy where we take away kids' phones in the morning and don't give them back to the afternoon. So
and that was new this year. I think this was our first year, and I will tell you, I think there were definitely there were some concerns as to how the parent body would react to this new rule, how the kids would react, and the parents, I think, were overall extremely supportive of it, and they love it. And you'd be surprised to hear that when we first told the kids that we're taking their phones, they were devastated and very nervous and upset. But I think pretty quickly on, we saw that the kids were so happy and appreciative, and they felt like we were helping them because at the end of the day, like, they were focusing more on the social interactions. They were focusing more even just in class on their work, and they felt better, I think, not having their phones. So it was a really amazing thing that we did, I think.
Oh, I totally agree with that, Mrs. Cohen. I also feel as though, this is what we try very hard to do in YCQ, it's always been the atmosphere of the school. Of course, Yossi, you know that because you're one of our amazingly illustrious alumni. This school is not about rules. YCQ is about values and expectations. And so, I would joke about it, but a serious joke, when children were handing in their phones, I would say to the 8th graders, Shabbat Shalom. You're about to enter into Shabbat atmosphere for your day. You're turning off your phone. You're putting it into the phone pouch. You're not going to get it till 4:30. You have that same serenity of opening a Gemara, opening a Chumash, opening a Mishnah, a math book, a reading book, a social studies book, a science book. You're going to get to explore. You're going to get to have recess and have a lot of fun with your friends. You're going to get to go sit at lunch and interact with your friends and socialize. Have a nice Shabbat day. I wish I could have Shabbat day with you. And yes, some of the kids do say, Rabbi, I'm wondering if you could last the whole day without your phone. And I say I would welcome it. My favorite moment of the week is that moment before Hadlakat Neirot, when I get the privilege of turning off my phone and having the opportunity to connect better with Hashem. So I think the children in YCQ now are fortunate that they get to turn off their phones. And I think if we frame it that way for the children, I think it's a healthier atmosphere for them, and they can enjoy the opportunities that they have to connect with their friends, their teachers, and Hashem.
Well said, yeah. I wish I could turn off my phone the whole week.
Speaking of which, I think I got a couple of texts. Check my phone now.
You've been pretty good so far, Rabbi.
I'm behaving.
You
I'm trying to behave.
Pretty good.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit. We got a great question, and I think this definitely ties into a little bit the school uniform and technology, I guess, at home. But in general, someone asked a great question. When is bribery effective parenting, and when is it the wrong course of action? I think this is, I imagine, a struggle administrators in school and parents at home.
I don't know if is it bribery or is it more, I mean, that was the question.
That was the question,
but I don't
yes.
think we're ever bribing our children, or we shouldn't be bribing. It's more about maybe rewarding, giving rewards, and I do think sometimes that is appropriate.
Yeah. The fact that Hashem made human beings celebrate in a certain way means that it is okay to have as an incentive, as a reward, something nice. It's not bribery. It's saying we're going to do so nice to you. We're going to go on this adventure together, and when we finish, we're going to have the siyum, and we're going to celebrate once in a while with some donuts, with some fun, with a trip, with different things. And this is what builds childhood memories, knowing that it wasn't indulging all the time. It was every now and then having an accomplishment. I don't think it should be looked upon as bribery. I think people should accept it as mitoch shel lo lishma ba lishma. If we want to get kids on trajectory of consistency, then we have to understand the way the child thinks and the way the child works. And if grown-ups work that way, call it homer, that's how children work.
I think one more, I'm not going to call the other questions not serious, but I think heavier, or not, one more question. And
we don't mind these tough questions. We're excited to answer the questions because we feel like overall the way Mrs. Cohen and I function is we feel, we're sitting here on July 3rd, right? So obviously this is true. We feel it's a privilege to work together at leading the school, and we feel like it's something special, and the relationships that we have with the parents and the children and the faculty are critical and essential. And if this can enhance the relationship, so matov manayin.
Beautiful. So one question, and I'll just read. Boys who aren't good or aren't into competitive sports tend to struggle socially. What suggestions do you have for the parents of such boys?
So listen, not everyone's going to be good at everything. So I will tell you that there are some children that aren't necessarily the best at sports that led our school to high acclaim in our robotics competition, and feel really good about themselves, but they work very hard. In the same way that the child on the basketball team, and the hockey team, and the soccer team have to stay after school, and have to work very hard, and have to sweat, and sustain injuries sometimes. Nebuch, the kids in our robotics team, they stay after school and they work very hard. And we have kids on the debate team who may not be necessarily athletic children and stay after school and work very hard and bring the school high acclaim in debate.
And I want to say we value all of those different things in the same way in the school.
Exactly.
So we make a really big deal about, our debate team and when they win and when they come back from competitions, or STEM, the kids who are good at engineering. Like, we really value all of these things in the same way. So it doesn't feel like you have to be on a sports team in order to be, accepted. Or
There were times where Cohen and I would be in the lunchroom and we would acknowledge the hockey team for an amazing win and celebrate with Slurpees. And then there are times when it's horrible. Comes back. They come back with Rabbi Rosenfeld. They come back with Miss Rosenblum, and we'll say here, let us sponsor you. Please go to 7-Eleven and have some delicious Slurpees. We really try to look at all of the different values of our school in a similar way. Obviously, the main value in YCQ is Torah and mitzvot and midot and academics. But I think sports, for those that are good at it, is healthy, and there are also non-competitive sports that the kids do. Parents, you'd all be surprised at your children who may not necessarily have made it to any of the teams, how amazing they are at Mishmar when we see them playing ball, and everyone gets a chance to play interactive sports at Mishmar. Well, you should see Rabbi Bernstein's Sunday Learning Tournament that every child gets to play, and how there's an opportunity. And Rabbi Bernstein will stop every quarter at the Sunday Learning Basketball and say everyone's going to play and everyone gets an opportunity to play. You should see at recess, the kids who play. So it's not only about competitive sport. There is that element to the school and should be there, but there's other sports opportunities and there's other extracurricular and co-curricular opportunities for all the children.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I think as an alumnus and what I've seen over here working the past couple of years, there really is an opportunity for every single kid to shine.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity for poetry slams and debates and Torah Bowl and sports and everything in between. And I think I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Jacob Grossman.
Absolutely.
Who I think he helps perpetuate this throughout the year, but especially I think it was just a beautiful visual during Color War specifically, where you really saw every single kid working on something that meant something to them. Right. The songs and the cheers and the sports and the banners, and you really had a chance for every kid to shine and work with their friends. Trivia, literally everything.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem, our school is on the bigger size, and there's really an opportunity for every single kid to shine and to find their group of friends, and it's really...
And I think that's the job, that's one of the reasons why the parents put their kids in our, under our guidance, is so that we can help bring out the best in every child and help accentuate their skills. If we look at a child and we say, you're amazing at art, and you may want to consider a career in graphic design and things like that. That could be a life-changing moment for that child. So whatever it is, for us to recognize that and have them accomplish something special with their lives in a Torah way, that really gives us a lot of nachat.
For sure. Okay. Let's just do a couple of, random, more rapid-fire questions.
Uh-oh.
To quote...
this we're not prepared for.
Fire. No, these were...
Mrs. Cohen, are you sure you're ready for this?
I'm a little nervous, but let's go for it. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, in order, there are no cue cards. We don't know what's happening next, so get ready.
True.
Okay.
I have my seatbelt on. Yes.
Good. This comes from an anonymous alumnus.
Uh-oh.
I graduated from YCQ in 2013. Feels like yesterday. Back then, everyone wished there was a YCQ high school. Do you see a high school in the future of YCQ?
Wow.
Whoa.
We happen to get this question
all the time.
A lot, especially when it comes to 8th grade parents graduating. And this is a big question.
At graduation, Mrs. Cohen, what do they say? They say, why do we have to say goodbye? Why don't you guys build a high school?
It's a big question.
So, we're more than happy to consider that, and that person can get on the alumni donor list.
After the
board.
After the pool.
After the pool.
Of course, after the health club. We would love that.
It would be amazing. It's actually, I think it's our dream. I think, if it could happen, then we're willing to take it on.
It would be amazing. I do want to accentuate an aspect of that, which is that we have a certain model here, call it a brand, and that is our children are getting skills, and they're getting inspiration, and they're getting a wonderful climate and a wonderful environment. And from a YCQ education, you have the opportunity to pursue your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. So to have that continue in a high school would be just incredible. Yeah, we're bought in. We're all in.
All right. I think the question also just sums up so nicely how much the students really love YCQ. And I'm not.
Yeah,
I guess we are patting our own back here, but
why did
That's
that?
okay.
but I think
Why
it's
did
worth
that
it. We have
person
to
want
do
to be
that sometime.
anonymous? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
I'm wondering.
And also, I would just say, when we're at a time now where we don't have a high school, I think it's beautiful to see the diversity of high schools that our 8th graders go to. Just shows how beautiful our school is, and everyone from different communities come together at YCQ and make this beautiful tapestry.
I always feel like YCQ was I really believe this, so it's going to sound like very lofty. I think YCQ is the last stop in the Golos.
Okay.
I think this is the end. And the reason why I know that we are holding on to the last stop in the exile of this really, really challenging 2,000 years of exile is because the prophets tell us that when you see the ingathering of the Jews who come from different countries, from different nationalities, from different heritage places, and you see them gathering in one place, you'll know that Mashiach is coming very, very soon. So the diversity that YSQ has, we love it. And that's one of the reasons why Mrs. Cohen comes to the 5 towns. I come from Teaneck. We come every day. We come here to Queens because we truly feel Mashiach at the doorpost for the Jewish people right here in the school.
There's no place like it. We have such an amazing thing going here. It's so unique. I could never see myself anywhere else. Again, I go over the Van Wyck every morning, and it's not fun, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
And I go over the George Washington Bridge just to be here. And the RFK, 2 bridges, just to be here with this kibbutz hagaluyot, with this gathering of the Jewish people we're all meeting each other for the first time in 2,000 years, forming a community, and seeing the different high schools the kids go to and seeing them being desired and accepted is truly just a tremendous nachat that we receive every day. And I would rather not be anywhere else other than what I call YCJ, Yeshiva Central Jerusalem, which is the real name that we're going to be called, hopefully, maybe even September. Maybe we'll move in September. With the pool.
Guess you guys just touched on it a bit. But people are curious about your daily routines. What time? What time do you wake up in the morning, Rabbi Landsman and Mrs. Cohen?
Here we go. My alarm goes off at 4:45 every day.
Oh my God!
And the reason why it does that is because it takes me a long time to just get myself together and get up. And I leave around till I get myself all put together. I leave around 6 o'clock, and I'm here at about 6:35, 6:40, and then I start davening and getting it together and getting myself and Mrs. Cohen coffee so that we can get through the day. And then I'm here at night usually till around 8, 9 o'clock if there's no meeting. And I'm very thankful to Hashem that He gives me the necessary koach to continue doing this. For Mrs. Cohen and myself, we just completed our 20th year and we're starting our 21st year, and Hashem should just bless us to continue.
Amen. So you beat me. I get up later than you, but my alarm clock rings at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm usually here by around 7 a.m. I definitely don't stay as late as Rabbi Landsman, but I'm here usually till around between 5, 6 o'clock, depending on the day. So
and
it's a long day, but it's
for those listening at home. They're talking every day. This is not like once a month.
When Mrs. Cohen says 5:30, that's not the work day. That's the time she's in the building.
That's true.
Because after she deals with family, issues, whatever she has to deal with her family, there's work that we do at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night just to make sure we really want to be prepared for the next days. So we'll review our schedule, make sure that we're in the class we're supposed to be in, at events that we're supposed to be at, and carefully analyze the Seder Hayom to make sure that we're where we're supposed to be.
I'm scared to ask what time you go to sleep.
Well, I try at 11, but usually around 11:15.
My goal is 10. Doesn't always happen, but I'm a big believer in getting the sleep that we need to function. So in theory, I really do. Yeah. I try to go to sleep by 10 to get up early, but
now I could take a Shabbat nap for 4 hours.
Oh, for sure. Me too.
4 hours, and then I wake up, and then my wife and kids are like, "What happened to you?" I don't know. I'm just very tired. And then I go to shul for mincha. I do a little learning during Sudas Shishit. Come back from Arvit, say Haftalah, and then a few hours later, my kids are like, "There's no way you're gonna be able to fall asleep." I'm like,
No problem. Same here. Same here.
No issue.
It's a good recharge.
If even. Wow. Are any of you interested in taking my baby when she wakes up in the morning? You're up anyways.
That we're past.
Oh, she's cute though. We'll keep her. All right. Speaking of my baby, this is a question from Baby Tamima's grandmother, my mom.
Oh wow, my old friend.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I know Yossi's mom, Karen. If you're listening, shout out to you, Karen. Korn Zimmerlover, my friend that I went to nursery with many years ago.
That's true.
And kindergarten in Yeshiva Dov Revel, and your son's doing an excellent job. He's amazing, and you should have lots of nachas from you and Ruben. All right, now what does Karen want to know?
So my mom's question is, which teacher of yours had a great impact on your life and why?
Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
We just had this is like so obvious.
I just met her.
Mrs. Cohen and Rabbi Landsman we just went to a conference for 2 days with the consortium of Jewish leaders and principals. We were at a principals conference for 2 days with about 150 leaders from across the country. And sitting next to Mrs. Cohen was my 4th grade Mora, Mrs. Joyce Yarmak. She had the biggest impact on my life. I wasn't so focused on learning in the younger grades, and then Mrs. Yarmak had a big influence on me. She was the long-term principal of Shalamis, now retired, and she still went to the principals conference. And the way she connected with me was by forming a good relationship with my mom, and I just owe her a great debt of gratitude for all that she did for me.
So I'm going to say I had a lot of amazing teachers. My 3rd grade teacher in Henk, Mrs. Itzkowitz from West Hempstead. She definitely had a huge impact on me in my life. Only in 3rd grade, I still remember her really well. Actually, I became a 3rd grade teacher and she actually invited me when she heard I was becoming a 3rd grade teacher to her house. She had already left Henk, but she took me to her garage and went through like all of her like old 3rd grade worksheets and paper. It was amazing. And she gave me materials. I'll never forget that. And I became a 3rd grade teacher. I taught 3rd grade for 10 years. And I learned from her a lot of the things that I implemented into my own classroom. And one thing that always stood out to me about her, that people tell me that I do this as well, I try, she was always smiling. And I remember as a kid, it really made a difference for me to come to her class every day, and she was just always smiling and making me feel good about myself. So I do try to model that after her. So shout out to Mrs. Itzkowitz if you're listening, which you're probably not. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, those are very powerful stories. Okay, speaking of teachers, we have a question from one of our own beloved teachers.
Okay.
Miss
Anonymous?
No. Miss Paula and Backcheer.
Paula.
If you could only
Big
watch...
Wasicue shout out to Paula.
Yes.
Awesome.
She is the best.
She's not just a teacher. She's director of ELA, General Studies, Curriculum and Instruction, grades K through 8. Works very closely with Mrs. Cohen to make sure our school is the best.
True. Big fan. If you could only watch one movie, read one book, and eat one food dish for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
Wow.
I guess what's your favorite? I don't know.
Favorite,
You have to.
right.
You're gonna have to be stuck with it forever.
Food dish. I'm just so boring when it comes to food. I just would have chicken and
Rabbi
rice.
Landsman doesn't really eat.
Yeah, I've never
He
seen
doesn't
him
eat.
Yeah, I try.
No one has ever seen Rabbi Landsman eat.
No.
Just putting that out
There's an iced coffee on
We're
your
very
desk every day. I
concerned.
don't even see that go.
I save my appetite for my wife's delicious food.
Oh, there you go. Shout out to Naomi.
Yes, she's awesome. And just, I don't know, I like chicken and rice. I could just have that every single night. I don't need any change in that.
Okay, my favorite food is any kind of candy. I know that's probably not a great answer. Sorry, parents. The kids actually know that Mrs. Cohen loves candy. I don't eat it all the time, but I have a sweet tooth. Real food, I would say pizza, hands down.
What about book recommendations? I guess on any of the topics we discussed or in general favorite.
I gotta let Mrs. Cohen go first on the books because
I want
she
you
is
to.
the.
I
Spartan.
want you to go first
on the books.
Uh-huh.
I have something in mind, but I'm just wondering if you're going to say it.
You want to hear me say it? Well, my favorite book is the Torah.
Okay.
That was going to be your thing.
No, but
My favorite book is obviously the Torah.
Obviously.
And I teach 8th grade Parsha, but I love listening to Parsha Shiurim all week from either my faves, Rabbi Shalom Rosner and Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, who are my dear friends, and I just love listening to them. They spread so much Torah, and I like to share their Torah. That's my number one favorite book. But like a book to read, so I love biographies. And my favorite, other than Gedolim and Rebbeim and Moras and people that inspire, my favorite person who's alive in the world is Natan Sharansky. He's the hero of the Jewish people. And my favorite book is the one he wrote, Fear No Evil. And that really tremendously inspired me, and I recommend it to everybody to read about Sharansky's experiences in Russia.
So I'm happy you didn't say mine. You're going to wish you did. I'm going to go with Rabbi Arush.
Very
Shalom
good.
Arush, who
That's
actually
true.
Rabbi
That's
Landsman
true.
introduced me to him and his books.
Yes, thanks Rabbi Russick. Shout out to Rabbi Aloni
Shout out to
Russick,
Rabbi
who
Russick.
recommended it to me.
Absolutely life-changing, and I'm not exaggerating. Reading his books changed my life, my whole perspective on bitachon, and it's really, his books are about gratitude, but having gratitude leads to bitachon, and it's a lot of stories, real life stories of people who just were grateful and counted their blessings, and even going through some really difficult challenges were able to say thank you Hashem, and how they grew from that and how they found what they were looking for. I definitely would put a plug in for this.
And we really
Rabbi
recommend
Landsman
it.
would gladly buy anyone a copy of these books for anyone who's interested, because he bought me all of them, and they're just incredible, life-changing.
And recommend it to all the parents. Rabbi Shalom Arush, Garden of Gratitude, Say Thank You and See Miracles, all of those things. Listen, we have so much to be thankful for, but Rabbi Arush teaches that even when you're thankful to Hashem for the nisyonot, for the challenges that you go through, that's the moment when you could do that, you could truly be connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu and eternal way, and that's really what we want. Wow. What a great answer. Wow.
Thank you. I knew you'd like it.
Love it.
And last but not least, we have a question.
We're really almost done.
Wow,
this was
so
so
I'm
much
actually.
fun.
This was
I
fun.
want
No?
to keep going.
We can do this
this was
again. I'm
great.
happy to do this. I love it. The people want to hear. The people have questions. We'll try to give them answers.
Okay.
All right. And this comes from someone. They wrote, it's from not Gavi Hoffman, although I have a feeling who it may be from. It says,
That means it's from our dear friend Tali.
I don't think it's from Tali.
No? So
What's the
not
question?
Gavi
I
Hoffman.
think
Sorry?
Is Mrs. Hoffman the greatest teacher in the history of YCQ?
Oh, good
or
question.
the entire world?
Wow. Good
Wow.
question, Gavi.
Gavi.
This one I
You're a
totally am
smart
going to be
guy.
letting Mrs. Cohen answer, and I don't even know. That's the toughest question.
Mrs. Hoffman is just the best, I think, of all time. I'm going to go with all time. She's just incredible. Anyone who's had Mrs. Hoffman as your child's teacher, she's the real deal. We love her. And Gavi, wow. Smart man.
We have some people
Great
in the school.
question.
We have some people in the school that are YCQ lifers. That means that their entire career is YCQ, and their children go to YCQ. So, Mrs. Cohen, you're one of those people.
I'm
You're a
one of
YCQ
them.
lifer. You came 21 years ago from Stern College right to YCQ, and all your children graduated here. And the reason why that's such a really special question to ask is that Mrs. Hoffman is a YCQ lifer. This is her career, this is her life, and it's where she sends her children. And she always tells us that even if her children will say, maybe we should go to a local school, she goes, what? And I don't get the chance to spend time with you every day, watching you grow and nurturing you. So that's a YCQ lifer. So
Yes.
all the YCQ lifers are our favorites because they're truly putting everything. When you put your children and your career in one place, you're literally putting everything.
It's true.
Well said. Okay, I think that's it for now. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
For joining
Thank you,
us.
Yossi.
Thank you.
Hashem should bless you with continued hatzlacha on your avodas hakodesh, and just keep up the
Amen.
great work.
Man, okay.
And everyone have a great rest of the summer.
Yes.
It's only July 3rd, so if you're listening to this anytime in July, just enjoy the summer's time to both reflect on the past successes and plan a wonderful year for next year. And we have so many exciting plans for next year that we will reveal to you maybe at a later time.
Ooh.
Looking forward.
Stay tuned, everybody. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. A special thank you to Mr. Simcha Sommer for helping produce this episode and the entire season. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your app of choice so you never miss an episode. We would love to hear from you. Go to ycqweb.com/podcast if you have any ideas for a topic of discussion, a special guest, or anything else you think we could be doing better. Please let us know. Once again, that's ycqweb.com/podcast. Until next time, have a wonderful summer.